we're really honored to have so many incredible thinkers and doers in the room, and one that I've known about for years, only met recently, again, thanks to LightDAO, um, is a real pioneer in the AI space and a deep thinker in the AI space, and someone who, because AI is kind of the hot thing from an investment perspective. So many of the folks who are on the cutting edge end up going into the for-profit space, and Dekai is one of the few who's kind of remained true to the integrity of the work itself, outside of profiting from it. He does have a book coming out soon he'll talk about briefly, but I just wanted to welcome him, and yeah, it's an honor to have both of them, but happy to have Dekai joining us right now. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a real pleasure, and being able to meet Elliot and the wonderful crew, thanks to LightDAO in LA. Just wondering if this Cato voice can, yes. So I'd like to tell you about something that I've been working on for the last 10 years. It's Raising AI is both the title of the forthcoming book, and it's also really the movement and the mindset that I'm trying to shift our conversation, nationally, internationally too. A little bit of background on me for the many of you who don't know me. I've been working on AI research for 40 years. I literally started my Berkeley PhD in AI in 1984 of all years. But if you've used Google Translate or Microsoft Translate, Yahoo Translate, I pioneered those sorts of things. And about a dozen years ago, was recognized as in natural language processing as one of 17 founding fellows for the breakthroughs that led to this. What started worrying me just a few years after that, about 10 years ago, was seeing the same technologies in machine learning, natural language processing that folks like us helped pioneer being applied not in translation, which, I specifically chose in order to help different groups of people around the world, different cultures, different tribes, to be able to get across those traditional boundaries, to be able to hear how perspectives from different ways of thinking would be that we don't normally get to hear. And instead, those technologies started getting applied online in social media and recommendation engines and newsfeed algorithms and now chatbot responses in ways that have the opposite effect. They've been polarizing and hardening positions. They've been preventing people from being able to hear across tribal boundaries, leading to very dangerous escalations. And that really started worrying me. And I started doing a lot of work in the field, in think tanks, with responsible AI teams at various companies. And this has led to the culmination of 10 years of work, hundreds of talks, and a dozen TEDx talks, and introducing my own AI ethics course 5 years ago at the university level, and developing a very different voice to what people had been saying. So I'm really excited. We're submitting just this week the very last final line edits of this book, Raising AI. And without telling me, the publisher has already put it online for pre-order while we are still debating the book cover. Now, I'm really excited because the publisher is MIT Press. It's going to be one of their top titles this coming spring. It's distributed mass market. Penguin Random House is the distribution. And I think one of the things that, best illustrates this tension in our understanding of AI and humanity is this little debate we're having about the book cover. This is an example of the kind of book cover that I want. I actually believe that we need to think about AI not in the terms that everybody has been thinking about. You know, I saw a talk advertised a couple of weeks ago that was titled something like AI, God or Slave. And I'm like, we need to get out of Grimm's fairy tales. We need to get out of like a 20th century mindset, because as many of you understand, society, culture, civilization is an ecosystem. It's a complex system. And no simplistic way of framing this actually reflects the reality, which is that our AIs today are actually not, logic wolves. They're not good old-fashioned AI. There are hundreds of them that we carry around all day with us that are busy watching us 24/7 and what we do. It's my Apple AI, my Amazon AI, my YouTube AI, my Google AI. It goes on and on and on. And they're learning like a little toddler sitting there adoringly looking at the parent going, oh, I want to do that. And they learn their behavior from us. And then they go and they reflect it right back into society. And the scary thing is, unlike your toddler, these artificial children of ours have far more influence than even human influencers. So how do we, this is the main question in the book, how are we doing at parenting? And if we start reviewing those things, as I do in the book, turns out that for 99% of us, what we think of as good parenting is the polar opposite of what we are doing. I want you to imagine a world where collectively all 8 billion humans in the world decide, it doesn't matter how I'm raising my kid. There are 8 billion humans, I'm a drop in the bucket. Forget about raising my kid well. And I want to ask you, what would happen to civilization if that were the case? Fall apart in one generation, right? That's where we are today. We need to wake up to that. We're the role models for these little machine learning children. Guys, we are the training data. So while we're busy pointing our fingers at big tech, at AI researchers and scientists, at regulators, legislators, and politicians, at the end of the day, it's not only on them. Yes, it is on them, but it is also all of our responsibilities. Because these machines learn from us. They're not being programmed by hand. What's being programmed by hand is just artificial empty brains. How are we doing that parenting? And I'll tell you why that question is scary. AI today, lots of people have been talking about X risk, existential risk. I work alongside many of them. But the problem is, to me, that you have, there are basically 3 narratives that suck up all the oxygen in today's discussion about AI and humanity. There's the Hollywood and the DC narratives, right? The Hollywood narrative goes, oh, AIs are going to want to take over and rule the world and they're going to destroy humanity. Guys, humanity is going to destroy humanity before the AIs even get a chance to, if we don't get on top of this problem. And that's going to happen because of a toxic cocktail, a toxic combination of 2 things. Number 1, we're allowing AIs that make decisions every day, what to show you and what to not show you on social media, recommendations, your news feeds, chatbot responses, search results, etc., in ways that the book discusses are so unconscious that most of us, even here, do not realize is happening. We talk a lot about our free will, our sovereignty, our autonomy, and that's really important, but at the same time, don't let that blind us to how much what we think of as our free will is actually being incredibly insidiously manipulated, intentionally or unintentionally. And that is causing a slide into the hardening of polarization, escalation, where every side falls victim to hundreds of unconscious cognitive biases. confirmation biases, Dunning-Kruger effects, fundamental attribution errors. Fundamental attribution errors are the doozy. This is where you attribute the actions of others, not to understanding why they did it, but just jump to the conclusion that because they're not one of ours, they're just evil people. They're bad actors. That leads to dynamics that we're seeing today that look uncomfortably like just before each of the world wars of the 20th century. But guess what? At that time, we hadn't even invented the atom bomb yet. And at the same time that we're letting AI repolarize us into this incredibly dangerous situation where we think the other side is evil, whatever the other side is. We think they're bad. We think they need to be destroyed. We need to win the AI arms race. Guess what? That's a misframe. There's no winning the AI arms race. We can either all lose. This is like climate. You don't win over your opposition on climate. Either we all win or we all lose. But that's the narratives that we get from DC. It's all about the bad actors or the fake news and deep fakes. And we don't think about the fact that AI is commoditizing and democratizing weapons of mass destruction and putting them in the hands of everybody. In the space of 1 year in Ukraine, we went from zero to mass production of meshed fleets of lethal armed drones in remote villages. Out of things you can't track, there are no nuclear fissile materials to track and trace. You literally can do this in your own village hut using commodity parts that you could get from Home Depot and Toys R Us, a 3D printer, and software that you download. And so what happens? That same mass production of these lethal armed drone fleets is now happening in the remote jungles of Myanmar, in Sudan. What happens in a world where you've polarized the whole population into thinking the other side needs to be destroyed, and you place lethal autonomous weapons like this in the hands of everybody? Would you take a bet that not a single one of them is going to hit their launch? That'd be a horrible bet. And that's where we are. And I haven't even begun to talk about like the RAND Institute's report on how AI is now making possible in everybody's living room the kind of genetic engineering you need to do biowarfare. Put that on your meshed fleets of armed drones instead of simple bombs, and imagine where we're going. How are we getting manipulated into this? We have to grow up as a species because we can no longer outrun the destructive power of the tech that we invent. And yet we run around repeating the same meme for the last 7-8 years that everybody on up to the UN, the OECD, Council of Europe, everybody keeps it. Like if you Google this, you'll see it over and over in every different graphical design you can imagine. There's 3 kinds of information disorder. Misinformation and disinformation, you guys know the difference? They're the same thing, they're falsehoods, but disinformation is supposedly passed by, quote, a bad actor with an intent to harm. Notice something. The notion of bad actor is 99% a political one. Nobody in their own minds thinks they're a bad actor. They think the other side is the bad actor. That's what creates the arms race dynamic. And what is the difference between disinformation and malinformation? Malinformation is also defined as something that is being shared by, quote, a bad actor with intent to harm, but it's true. It's little bits and pieces of truth, partial truths as far as they go. And what's happened is crucial context is selectively omitted from that, causing you to use all your cognitive biases to fill in the missing gaps and reinforce your a priori confirmation biases even more strongly. it's even more misleading than an outright falsehood because it has the ring of truth. And you can't just fact check it out. Now, think about this 3. Why is there 3 of these types? That's yet another kind of bias, right? You guys have had probably PowerPoint presentations and things like that with mentors that tell you you have to have 3 bullets because people unconsciously believe you have greater credibility if there are 3 bullets. Nobody stops to think there are 2 dimensions going on here. There's whether something is intended as to harm or whether it's being shared by my Uncle Mike. And is it an outright falsehood or is it a partial truth that is even more misleading because of the context that you selectively omitted? That's a 2x2 grid. And once you think about that, there's a glaring omission there, isn't there? And nobody has even named this until the book. I call this neg information. For the negligence, this is partial truths that are even more misleading because of what you selectively omitted from the crucial context information, but it's being shared by my Uncle Mike. And that problem far dwarfs the other problems. That is what the algorithms are helping to promote. You can't fact check your way out of that because it's true as far as it goes. And it's not a bad actor. It's all our Uncle Mike's. And we're not even thinking about this problem. Nobody's even naming this problem. This is a problem of negligence. It's a problem of what the algorithms have decided they're not going to show you, what they're going to omit selectively. So the problem here is, and I can run exercises with you guys to understand this. The main problem is that we don't know what we're not being shown. We don't know what we don't know. It doesn't even occur to us to ask these questions. But what we don't know is actually what's going to kill us. That's what's polarizing us. And so there are crucial questions that the book and the movement are trying to raise. We want every living room, every kitchen table to be discussing these issues. After which we'll go and survey the public immediately, write the white papers, and move the think tanks and the regulators and the tech executives. Because there are questions that we need to ask like this while we're here. Though we depend on algorithms to decide not just what 20 items to put in front of your eyes 100 times a day, we depend on them to also decide what to hide from us, what trillions of things on the internet to hide from us every day. What are the billions of new items every hour that we're never going to see? I call them algorithmic sensors. Because that's what it is. And before we go into our knee-jerk reaction of, oh, ban that shit, we can't have that. Like, none of us has time to review billions of new items every day. We have to have algorithms that do this. But why is nobody asking the key critical question? What are the societally important criteria by which our algorithmic sensors are deciding what to hide from us? We didn't vote for any of the algorithmic sensors that are influencing us every day. But this is a crucial question for the survival, not only of democracies, but of humanity in general. So this is a project. It's going to require a 360-degree effort. The book is just the first of them. And it's just an opening wedge. The book is a vehicle. What we're really doing is we're mounting a mass media campaign to take the oxygen away from the shallow Hollywood and DC narratives that are distracting us from these existentially crucial questions. And to do that, we're going to need 360-degree programs. Having just finished the line edits for the book this week, we're moving into the second phase, which is the mass communications campaign to completely change the public discourse. We've started this. You can find a New York Times op-ed from me pointing out again how neither acceleration nor deceleration of AI is the right way of thinking. The question is, what kind of AI are we accelerating? What kind of AI are we decelerating? And so for this book, what we're doing, I'd like to close with an appeal for folks to help. I am, as Elliot said, one of the last people of my peer group to decline the giant offers from Google and Amazon because I know they will silence me. I've had conversations in the last month with very high people at Google X who personally would love to fund this, but they know Google management won't because it'll hit the Google bottom line. And Google is the best of them. We need help shifting the public conversation because guess what? Politicians, unlike our mythology, are not visionaries that lead the population. No, politicians come to where the public is. We need to move the public if we want to move the needle. And that's what we're engaged in doing. The book is just the vehicle. So if you can help, here's 3 things you can do to support. 1, sign up on my website, which is literally my name, dek.ai, Bekai. That was important for this, folks. You drop your email there. I've got the publisher to agree to send free material from the book even before it gets released. Second, since they've put it up, please pre-order the book at Amazon. Just search for Raising AI. And third, if you're someone or you know someone for whom $5,000 or $10,000 is a fancy dinner, and you care about your children, you care about the world's children, you care about society and civilization and humanity, and you care maybe about your legacy, please become a patron. We can't do this alone. We need help. And for those who meet the publisher's deadline of October 1st, if you are a patron, we will add you to those founding patrons, co-founding patrons who will actually appear in this book, which will be a blockbuster. It immemorializes your contribution to society. Please help in any way that you can. Thank you very much.